The blue flames rose high above the city of Velmora as Chancellor Velthara watched from her command center. The beautiful crystal towers that had taken her people 300 years to build were melting like ice under the alien weapons. Children's screams echoed through the communication channels as families ran for the evacuation ships. "How many ships do we have left?" she asked her military advisor, General Colvin. His forearms moved quickly across the control panels, his blue skin darker than usual from stress. 11 combat ships, Chancellor. Maybe 15 if we count. The damaged ones." His voice was quiet. "The Korthak Empire brought over 60 ships to our system. We never had a chance." Velthara closed her large eyes. The Valanians had always been a peaceful race. They made medicine, not weapons. They healed the sick, not killed the healthy. When other species fought wars, the Valanians stayed home and worked on cures for diseases. Now that peaceful nature was killing them. Through the thick glass windows, she could see the massive Korthak ships in orbit. Each one was the size of a small moon, covered in weapons and armor. The insect-like Korthak had come to their system 3 days ago with a simple message: surrender or die. The Valanians had tried to surrender. The Korthak killed them anyway. "Chancellor," called Communications Officer Tailrin from across the room. "The hospital ship Gentle Hope is requesting permission to land. They have 5,000 wounded on board. Give them landing permission. Immediately," Velthara replied. "And send medical teams to meet them." But even as she gave the order, she knew it was hopeless. The Korthak were not just conquering their worlds. They were destroying everything. Cities, hospitals, schools, even the farms where they grew food. The aliens wanted the Valanians' medical technology, but they did not want the Valanians themselves. "Ma'am," Tailrin said again, this time more quietly, "I'm picking up something strange on the old frequencies." Velthara turned to look at him. "What kind of strange?" "There's an old beacon signal. Very old. It's hidden in the restricted files, but I can access it with my security clearance." His fingers danced over his control board. "It's pointing toward a system in the outer rim, a yellow star with 9 planets." "What's special about that system?" Tailrin's face went pale. "According to the files, it's the home system of a species called humans. But, Chancellor, the files say their system is marked as forbidden. The old Galactic Council put a warning on it 300 years ago." General Colvin looked up from his tactical displays. "I remember those stories. They say the humans are too dangerous to contact, that they turn their own planet into a fortress, that they're so violent they make war into an art." "Fairy tales," Velthara said, but her voice was not certain. "Maybe," Tailrin replied. "But the beacon is real, and it's set to an emergency frequency. Someone put it there for species like us. Species in trouble." Another explosion shook the building. Through the windows, Velthara could see another district of the city beginning to burn. The Korthak were getting closer to the government center. "How long do we have?" she asked. 6 hours, General Colvin answered. "Maybe less. They're landing. Ground troops now. Once they take the capital, they'll hunt down every survivor." Velthara walked to the communication console. The beacon signal blinked on the screen like a small star in the darkness. She had heard the stories about humans. Every child in the galaxy knew them. They said humans were monsters who ate their enemies. They said human space was full of weapons pointed at anyone who came too close. They said humans had fought so many wars on their own world that they had to leave it just to find new things to fight. But they also said humans were strong. "What do the files say about contacting them?" she asked. Tailrin read from his screen. "The beacon frequency is open. Any species can use it, but there's a warning. It says, contact only in extreme emergency. Humans respond to calls for help, but they come as conquerors, not saviors." "And what does that mean?" "I think it means they'll help us, but we'll owe them everything afterward." Velthara looked around the command center. Half of her staff were already dead or missing. The rest looked at her with hope in their eyes, waiting for her to save them. Outside, her people were dying while she stood safely behind thick walls. "Chancellor," called the medical officer, "the hospital reports they're out of space. The wounded are dying in the hallways, and we have 3 more hospital ships requesting landing permission." "Give it to them," she said. Then she turned back to Tailrin. "Open a channel on the beacon frequency." "Ma'am, are you sure? Once we send this message, we can't take it back. if the humans really are as dangerous as the stories. Say, "Look outside," Velthara said. "Our children are already dying. Our cities are already burning. How much worse could it get?" Talrin nodded and activated the beacon. "Channel open, Chancellor. You're broadcasting to the Sol system." Velthara took a deep breath. She had never spoken to aliens before, especially not the kind that might be more dangerous than the ones already killing her people. But she was the Chancellor. Her people needed her to be strong. "This is Chancellor Velthara of the Valanian Republic," she began. "We are broadcasting from the Veltara system. We are under attack by the Korthak Empire. Our worlds are burning. Our people are dying. We have tried to fight, but we are not warriors. We are healers and teachers and builders, and we do not know how to make war." She paused as another explosion shook the building. Dust fell from the ceiling. "We know the stories about your people. We know you are dangerous. We know you might ask for a price we cannot pay. But we have nothing left. The Korthak will kill every last one of us if we do not get help soon. Our children have nowhere to run. Our elderly cannot fight. Our wounded fill every hospital ship. We have." Her voice broke a little. "We are not asking you to save us for free. We will give you whatever you want. Our technology, our worlds, our service, anything. We just want our children to live. Please, if there is any mercy in your hearts, if there is any honor in your warriors, help us. We are begging you." She gestured to Talrin to end the transmission. "Message sent, Chancellor," he reported. "It will take about 4 days to reach the Sol system. And how long for a reply? If they answer immediately, 8 days total." General Colvin looked up from his displays. "We don't have 8 days, we have 6 hours. Velthara nodded sadly. "I know, but at least we tried. At least someone will know what happened to us." She walked back to the windows and looked out at her burning world. In the distance, she could see the Korthak landing ships touching down like black insects on the surface of her planet. Soon those ships would be full of her people's bodies. "Chancellor," Talrin said suddenly, "I'm getting something strange on the sensors." "More Korthak ships?" "No, ma'am. Something else. Something big, and it's not coming from anywhere in our system." Velthara turned around. "What do you mean?" "I mean it's coming from empty space. From nowhere." Talrin's eyes were wide. "Ma'am, I think something is about to come out of hyperspace. Something very big." The Chancellor felt her heart skip. "How big?" "Bigger than anything I've ever seen before." Outside the windows, the sky began to change color. Captain Li Wu-jin stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense Force Dreadnought Soul's Fury and watched space tear itself apart. The hyperspace exit looked like a wound in reality. Blue and white energy crackled around the edges as ship after ship emerged from the tunnel between stars. First came the scouts, small and fast. Then the destroyers, bristling with weapons. Then the cruisers, each one the size of a city. Finally, the dreadnoughts emerged like moving mountains made of steel and fire. Fleet status report, called Admiral Kim Sora from her command chair. She was a small woman with gray hair, but her voice carried the authority of someone who had fought in 3 galactic wars. 200 ships reporting ready for battle. "Admiral," answered Lieutenant Commander Park Min-ho from his sensor station. "All weapons systems green. All fighter squadrons ready to launch." Wu-jin looked at the tactical display showing the Valanian system. Red dots marked the Korthak ships. Blue dots showed what was left of the Valanian fleet. It was not a fair fight. "Analysis of enemy forces?" Admiral Kim asked. 17 heavy cruisers, 43 destroyers, and 1 planetary bombardment platform, Park Min-ho reported. "The platform is currently attacking the surface of Veltara Prime. I'm reading massive energy discharges consistent with citywide destruction." Wu-jin felt his jaw tighten. The Korthak were not just conquering the Valanian worlds. They were destroying them completely. "Sir," called Communications Specialist Corporal Bei Su-jin from her station. "I'm receiving a transmission from the largest Korthak vessel. They're demanding we identify ourselves." Admiral Kim smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "Put them on screen." The main display flickered and showed the bridge of a Korthak ship. The alien commander was massive, with 4 arms and mandibles that dripped with some kind of combat drug. His insect-like eyes focused on Admiral Kim with obvious anger. "Unknown vessels!" the alien bellowed in broken galactic common. You enter Korthak space without permission. Identify yourselves or be destroyed like the blue-skin weaklings. This is Admiral Kim So-ra of the Earth Defense Force 3rd Fleet, she replied calmly. You are attacking a species under our protection. You have exactly 30 seconds to stop all hostile actions and leave this system. The Korthak War Master clicked his mandibles in what might have been laughter. Earth, the mythical death world. We have heard your fairy tales, small mammals. Your species is extinct. This system belongs to the Korthak Empire now. 29 seconds, Admiral Kim said, looking at her watch. You think your little ships frighten us? We are Korthak. We have conquered 16 species. We fear nothing in the galaxy. 15 seconds. The alien commander leaned forward, his forearms spread wide. When we finish with these blueskins, we will come for your worlds too. We will eat your children and turn your bones into decorations for our ships. 5 seconds. You cannot stop the Korthak Empire. We are the strongest warriors in the galaxy. Time's up, Admiral Kim said quietly. She turned to her weapons officer. All ships execute Battle Plan 7. Launch all fighters. Target the bombardment platform first. I want it stopped before it can kill any more civilians. The human fleet moved like a pack of hunting wolves. Fighter squadrons poured out of the carriers like angry wasps. Each small ship was piloted by a human who had trained their entire life for this moment. Commander Choi Jin-woo led his squadron, the Black Eagles, straight toward the Korthak fighters that were rising to meet them. Stay in formation, he called over the squadron channel. These bugs are big, but they're not smart. Use your speed and stick to your wingman. His wingman, Lieutenant Yoon Da-eun, flew beside him in perfect formation. Copy that, Commander. I count 30 enemy fighters incoming. They're flying in a straight line. Perfect, Choi Jin-woo replied. They make it too easy. The human fighters hit the Korthak formation like bullets hitting paper. The alien ships were big and heavily armored, but they turned like trucks. The human fighters danced around them, firing precision shots into engine intakes and weapon systems. Splash 3 bogeys, Da-eun reported as she rolled out of a dive, leaving 3 burning Korthak fighters behind her. Meanwhile, the heavy ships of the human fleet opened fire on the Korthak cruisers. Captain Kang Hyejin commanded the assault carrier Busan Rising, and her ship's main guns spoke with voices of thunder. Target the lead cruiser, she ordered her weapons officer. Hit them with everything. The Busan Rising's plasma cannons fired, in sequence, each shot bright enough to be seen from the planet's surface. The Korthak cruiser's shields flared and died under the assault. Without shields, the alien ship's armor melted like butter under the continued fire. But it was the dreadnoughts that showed why humans were feared across the galaxy. The Soul's Fury engaged the Korthak flagship directly. Captain Lee Woo-jin stood beside Admiral Kim, watching as his ship's weapons systems came online. Spinal cannon charged and ready, reported Weapons Officer Lieutenant Nam Young-sik. Fire, Admiral Kim ordered. The dreadnought's main gun was a railgun that ran the entire length of the ship. It accelerated a tungsten rod to 30% of light speed. When the rod hit the Korthak flagship, the alien ship simply stopped being a ship and became a rapidly expanding cloud of glowing metal. Direct hit, Nam Young-sik reported unnecessarily. Target destroyed. On the tactical display, red dots were disappearing quickly. The Korthak had brought 60 ships to destroy the Valanians, but they had never fought humans before. The bombardment platform is changing course, Park Min-ho reported. It's moving away from the planet and trying to target our fleet. Not today, Admiral Kim said. All dreadnoughts, focus fire on the platform. I want it gone. 5 human dreadnoughts turned their attention to the massive Korthak platform. Each ship fired its spinal cannon at the same time. The platform, designed to destroy cities from orbit, disappeared in a flash of light that was visible from 3 planets away. The battle was already over, but the Korthak did not know it yet. Enemy cruiser attempting to ram the Incheon's hammer, reported Park Min-ho. Captain Lim Jae-sung's voice came over the communication channel. I see him coming. Cute. All-point defense, continuous fire. The Korthak cruiser flew into a wall of plasma fire that tore it apart piece by piece. By the time it reached the human dreadnought, there was nothing left but scrap metal and empty space. Remaining enemy ships are attempting to retreat, Park Min-ho announced. Let them go, Admiral Kim ordered. "But send them a message first." She stood up from her command chair and walked to the communication station. "Open a channel to all surviving Korthak vessels." The main screen showed multiple Korthak bridges. The alien commanders looked terrified. "This is Admiral Kim Sora of Earth," she said. "You came to this system to destroy a peaceful species. That will not happen. You will leave now and never return. If any Korthak ship ever enters this system again, we will not be so merciful." One of the alien commanders, missing 2 of his arms, tried to speak. You cannot defeat the entire Korthak Empire. We have thousands of ships." "Then bring them," Admiral Kim replied. "We have been waiting 300 years for a good fight." The Korthak ships jumped to hyperspace as quickly as they could. "Fleet status?" Admiral Kim asked. "All ships reporting minimal damage," Park Min-ho answered. "0 casualties. The enemy managed to scratch the paint on 3 destroyers." Wu Jin looked at the tactical display. Where 60 Korthak ships had been minutes ago, there was now nothing but empty space and debris. The entire battle had lasted exactly 17 minutes. "Open a channel to the Valanian fleet," Admiral Kim ordered. The screen showed the bridge of a Valanian ship. The blue-skinned aliens looked shocked. "This is Chancellor Velthara of the Valanian Republic," the alien leader said. Did you just destroy the entire Korthak fleet?" "The immediate threat has been neutralized," Admiral Kim replied professionally. "Are your people in need of assistance?" Yes. Many of our ships are damaged. Our cities are burning. We have thousands of wounded." "We'll help," Admiral Kim said simply. "Captain Lee, take a diplomatic team aboard their flagship, coordinate with their leaders and see what they need." As Wu Jin prepared to meet with the aliens they had just saved, he wondered what Chancellor Velthara was thinking. The Valanians had called for help, and Earth had answered. But now they had to learn what it meant to have humans as allies. That conversation would be very interesting indeed. Commander Choi Jin-woo felt his fighter shake as he rolled out of another dive. His targeting computer beeped as it locked onto a Korthak interceptor trying to escape toward the outer system. "Dragon Leader to Dragon 2, he called to his wingman over the radio. "I've got a runner at bearing 270. Can you get an angle on him?" Lieutenant Yoon Da-yoon's voice crackled back. "I see him, lead. Banking left to intercept. These bugs really don't know when to quit." Choi Jin-woo watched as his wingman's fighter curved through space like a hunting bird. Da-eun had been flying with him for 2 years, and she could place a shot exactly where it needed to go, even while pulling 8 times normal gravity. "Fox 2, she called out, using the old code for missile launch. The Korthak fighter exploded in a bright ball of fire and metal. That was the last enemy ship in their sector. "Nice shot," Choi Jin-woo said. "Form up on me. Command wants all fighters to start search and rescue operations." As they flew toward the planet, Choi Jin-woo could see the damage the Korthak had done. Entire cities were dark. Smoke rose from burning districts, but he could also see the blue lights of Valanian rescue ships moving through the clouds, searching for survivors. "Dragon Leader, this is Rescue Control," came a new voice on his radio. "We have a priority target for you. Valanian hospital ship is trapped in the atmosphere over the northern continent. Engines are dead, and they're falling toward the surface. Copy, Rescue Control. Do they have wounded on board?" "Affirmative. 5,000 patients and medical staff. The ship is too big for our tractor beams, but your fighters might be able to push it into a stable orbit." Choi Jin-woo looked at the tactical display. The hospital ship was huge, easily 10 times bigger than his fighter. But if they could coordinate their engines properly, "All Dragon Squadron fighters form up on my position. We're going to push a hospital ship." 12 human fighters arranged themselves around the falling Valanian ship like tiny tugboats around a massive ocean liner. Working together, their engines could provide just enough thrust to change the hospital ship's course. Engines to full. "Power on my mark," Choi Jin-woo ordered. 3, 2, 1, mark! The fighters pushed against the hospital ship's hull with their engine wash. Slowly, very slowly, the massive ship began to rise instead of fall. "It's working," Da-eun reported. "Altitude increasing, we've got her." Inside his cockpit, Choi Jin-woo smiled. This was why he had joined the Earth Defense Force, not to destroy things, but to save them. Meanwhile, on the surface of Veltara Prime, the real work was beginning. Captain Kang Hae-jin stood on the bridge of the assault carrier Busan Rising and watched her Marines deploy to the planet below. But these were not combat drops. These were rescue missions. Landing Zone Alpha is secure, reported Major Ko Yoon-ji from the planet's surface. We found about 300 Valanian civilians hiding in the subway tunnels. They're scared but mostly unhurt. What about medical supplies? Kang Hee-jin asked. The local hospital was bombed, but we brought our own field medical station. Dr. Han Min-jae is already treating the wounded. Through the communication channel, Kang Hee-jin could hear the sounds of rescue work. Human voices calling out in both Korean and broken Valanian. The sound of heavy equipment being moved. The gentle hum of medical scanners. "Captain," called her communications officer. "I'm getting a transmission from the Valanian Government Center. They're requesting permission to send their chancellor aboard our ship." "Grant permission," Kang Hee-jin replied. "And make sure our best translators are available. This conversation is going to be important." An hour later, Chancellor Velthara stepped aboard a human warship for the first time in her life. She had expected to find a vessel full of dangerous warriors covered in weapons and scars. Instead, she found Captain Lee Woo-jin waiting for her, with a respectful bow. "Chancellor Velthara," he said in carefully pronounced Valanian. "I am Captain Lee. Welcome aboard the Soul's Fury. Admiral Kim sends her apologies. She is coordinating rescue operations throughout your system." The human was smaller than Velthara had expected. He wore a clean military uniform and spoke with quiet confidence. Most importantly, he was polite. "Captain Lee," she replied in her broken galactic common, "I must thank you for saving my people. We expected to die today." "You don't need to thank us," Woo Jin said. "You called for help. We came. That's what we do." He led her through the corridors of the human ship. Velthara was surprised by what she saw. The walls were clean and well-maintained. The crew members they passed nodded respectfully to both of them. Everything was organized and efficient, but not cold or militaristic. "I don't understand," she finally said as they entered the ship's observation lounge. "The Galactic Archive said your people were dangerous, violent, that you had turned your planet into a fortress of war." Captain Lee looked out the large windows at the rescue operations taking place around the planet. Human ships were carefully pulling damaged Valanian vessels to safety. Marine dropships were landing near every major city bringing medical supplies and rescue equipment. "We are dangerous," he said quietly. "More dangerous than any species the galaxy has produced. But we choose who that danger is directed toward." He turned to face her. "Those who harm innocents see our fury. Those who seek our protection find our strength." "But why?" Velthara asked. "Why did you come? We have nothing to offer you. Our worlds are damaged. Our fleets are destroyed. We cannot pay you for this help." "You don't need to pay us," Woo Jin replied. "We came because you asked, because your people were dying, and you had nowhere else to turn." A young human officer approached with a data pad. "Captain, this is Lieutenant Jung Ho-seok from Intelligence." "Sir, we finished analyzing the Korthak battle plans." "What did you find?" Jung Ho-seok's face was grim. "This wasn't just a conquest, sir. The Korthak were planning to harvest Valanian medical technology and then eliminate the entire population. They intended to commit genocide." Velthara felt her blood turn cold. "They were going to kill all of us?" "Every last one," Jung Ho-seok confirmed. The plans specifically called for the elimination of Valanian genetic material to prevent any future resistance. "Then you didn't just save our colonies," Velthara whispered. "You saved our entire species." Captain Lee nodded. "That's what we do." Over the next several hours, Velthara toured the human rescue operations. She watched human doctors working alongside Valanian medics to treat the wounded. She saw human engineers repairing Valanian ships with tools and techniques that were completely foreign to her people. She observed human Marines distributing food and supplies to refugee camps, using gentle voices and careful movements to avoid frightening the survivors. Most importantly, she watched the humans work without asking for anything in return. "Captain," she said as they stood on the observation deck watching the rescue work, "in all the stories about your people, no one ever mentioned that you were kind." Woo Jin smiled. "Kindness is not weakness, Chancellor, and strength without compassion is just brutality. But surely you want something from us? Our medical technology? Our worlds? Some form of payment? We want your friendship, he replied simply. We want to know that when other innocents call for help, they'll have allies to answer alongside us. Velthara looked out at the human fleet. 200 warships, each one capable of destroying entire planets. But instead of conquest, they brought healing. Instead of taking, they gave. There will be other threats, she said. The Korthak were just one empire among many. There are worse things in the galaxy. Then we'll face them together, Captain, Lee said. If you want to. Together? The age of species standing alone is over, Chancellor. The galaxy is too dangerous, and the threats too great. But together, we can protect those who need protection. Together, we can make sure what happened here never happens again. Velthara thought about her burning cities and her dead people. She thought about the Korthak plans to exterminate her entire species. She thought about the human fleet that had appeared when all hope was lost. What would this partnership require? Nothing you're not willing to give, Wu Jin replied. Your medical knowledge would save human lives, just as our military strength saved yours. Your peaceful nature would remind us why we fight. Your wisdom would help us choose our battles carefully. And in return, no one will ever threaten your people again. Earth's war fleets will stand guard over your worlds. And when the next species calls for help, they'll find both human strength and Valanian mercy waiting to answer. Velthara looked out at her world, where human and Valanian rescue teams worked side by side. For the first time in days, she felt hope. I accept, she said, for my people and for all those who will need our help in the future. Captain Lee extended his hand in the human gesture of agreement. Welcome to the Alliance, Chancellor. Now let's go save the galaxy. 3 months after the battle, Dr. Han Min-jae walked through the corridors of the new medical station orbiting Veltara Prime. The station was unlike anything that had ever been built before. Human engineering and Valanian medical knowledge had combined to create something that neither species could have made alone. Dr. Han, called his assistant, Nurse Valkyra, one of the first Valanians to learn Korean. The burn victims from the Altair colony have arrived, 30 patients, all with severe plasma wounds. Han Min-jae nodded and headed toward the emergency bay. 6 months ago, he had been treating human soldiers wounded in border conflicts. Today, he was part of something much bigger. The emergency bay doors opened to reveal a scene that would have been impossible before the Alliance. Human medics worked alongside Valanian healers, using equipment that combined the best of both technologies. The Valanian healing chambers could regenerate damaged tissue in hours instead of weeks. The human surgical robots could perform operations with precision that no organic hand could match. Status on patient 7? He asked Dr. Sevthala, the Valanian chief of surgery. The plasma burns go down to the bone, she replied in careful Korean. But the new healing matrix should regenerate the damaged tissue completely. He'll be walking again in 2 days. Han Min-jae smiled. Before the Alliance, those wounds would have meant a lifetime of disability. Now they were just another case to solve. Doctor, called communications specialist Corporal Bae Soo-jin from the station's command center. Priority message from Fleet Command. Admiral Kim wants to speak with you. Han Min-jae made his way to the communication room, where Admiral Kim Sora appeared on the main screen. Behind her, he could see the bridge of the flagship Soul's Fury. Dr. Han, the Admiral said, how are our Valanian friends adapting to the joint medical program? Better than I expected, Admiral. Their healing technology is incredible. We've been able to save patients that we would have lost using human medicine alone. Good, because we're going to need that technology soon. We've received another distress call. Han Min-jae felt his heart rate increase. Where? The Zephyr system, a species called the Zephyrians. They're being attacked by something called the Void Cult. Intelligence says the cult uses biological weapons that cause victims to dissolve from the inside out. That's horrible. When do we leave? The fleet departs in 6 hours. But Doctor, this time you won't be going alone. Chancellor Velthara has volunteered to lead a joint medical mission. Humans and Valanians working together to save another species, Yi. Min-jae felt pride swell in his chest. We'll be ready, Admiral. Meanwhile, on the bridge of the destroyer Gangnam Steel, Commander Shin Dong-hyun was having a very different conversation. Sir, reported his sensor officer, Lieutenant Park Jin-young, we're detecting massive hyperspace signatures at the edge of the system. Something big is coming. Shin Dong-hyun looked at his tactical display. The Zephyr system had been peaceful until the Void Cult arrived. The Zephyrians were a quiet species that farmed crystalline structures on their cold worlds. They had never hurt anyone. How big? He asked. Bigger than anything we've seen before. At least 300 ships. Maybe more. The Void Cult? Unknown, sir. But they're not transmitting any identification signals. Shin Dong-hyun opened a communication channel to Admiral Kim. Admiral, this is Commander Shin aboard the Gangnam Steel. We have a situation. Admiral Kim's face appeared on his screen. Report. Large fleet approaching the Zephyr system. Size unknown, but it's massive. They're not responding to our hails. Time to arrival? 4 hours, Admiral. Kim was quiet for a moment. Commander, you are to observe and report only. Do not engage until the main fleet arrives. If this is the Void Cult's full force, you'll need backup. Understood, Admiral. But as Shin Dong-hyun watched his sensors, he began to worry. The approaching fleet was not just big. It was huge. Bigger than anything the Earth Defense Force had ever faced. Back on Veltara Prime, Chancellor Velthara stood in her rebuilt office and looked out at her city. The crystal towers were rising again, taller and stronger than before. Human construction techniques had made them nearly indestructible. Chancellor, called her aide, Minister Cole Shan. Captain Lee is here for the Alliance meeting. Captain Lee Woo-jin entered the office with a small team of human advisors. Over the past 3 months, these meetings had become routine. Human and Valanian leaders working together to plan joint operations across the galaxy. Captain Velthara said in fluent Korean. She had been studying the language every day. I understand we have another mission. The Zephyrians, Lee confirmed. They're being attacked by the Void Cult. The cult uses biological weapons that dissolve living tissue. Our medical teams will need Valanian healing technology to save the victims. Of course. How many medical ships do you need? As many as you can spare. But Chancellor, there's something else. Intelligence reports suggest the Void Cult has been preparing for this attack for months. They may have more ships than we expected. Velthara nodded gravely. How many more? We don't know yet. But we may be facing the largest space battle in galactic history. Then we'll face it together, she said firmly. My people owe their lives to yours. We won't abandon you now. Captain Lee smiled. We're not asking you to fight, Chancellor. We're asking you to heal. Let us handle the fighting. But we can do more than heal, Velthara replied. Our sensor technology is more advanced than yours. Our ships are faster and more maneuverable. We may not be warriors, but we can help you win. Before Lee could reply, an urgent communication came through on his wrist device. Captain Lee, this is Admiral Kim. Return to your ship immediately. The situation at Zephyr has escalated. Lee looked at Velthara. It looks like we're about to find out just how strong this alliance really is. 2 hours later, the combined human-Valanian fleet jumped into hyperspace. Admiral Kim stood on the bridge of the Soul's Fury and watched the tunnel of light flow past her ship. Behind her flew not just the Third Fleet, but also 50 Valanian medical ships and support vessels. Admiral, called Park Min-ho from his sensor station. Message from Commander Shin at Zephyr. The unknown fleet has arrived. He's counting over 500 ships. Kim felt her blood run cold. 500 ships was more than the entire Earth Defense Force. What kind of ships? Unknown design. Large and heavily armed. They're not Korthak or any known species. Time to arrival at Zephyr? 3 hours, Admiral. Kim looked at the tactical display showing the composition of her fleet. 200 human warships and 50 Valanian support vessels against 500 unknowns. The odds were not good. Open a channel to all ships, she ordered. The communication system connected her to every captain in the fleet. Human faces and Valanian faces looked back at her from dozens of screens. This is Admiral Kim, she began. We are about to face the largest enemy force in Earth's military history. The odds are against us. Many of us may not survive the next few hours. She paused to let that sink in. But we are not fighting for conquest or glory. We are fighting to save innocent people who called for help. The Zephyrians are dying while we speak. They have no weapons, no armies, no way to defend themselves. They have only us. She looked directly into the camera. Today, we find out what this alliance really means. Today, we discover whether different species can truly stand together against the darkness. Today, we prove that mercy and justice are stronger than cruelty and hatred. The faces on the screens nodded. Human and Valanian alike, they understood what was at stake. All ships, prepare for battle. We have innocent people to save. As the fleet raced toward the Zephyr system, Captain Li Wu Jin stood beside Admiral Kim and watched the swirling tunnel of hyperspace. "Think we can win?" he asked quietly. Kim was silent for a long moment. "I don't know, but I know we have to try. 500 ships is a lot." "Yes, but we have something they don't." "What's that?" Admiral Kim smiled grimly. "We have something worth fighting for. In 3 hours, they would find out if that was enough." 6 months later, Ambassador O Taimin stood in the Great Hall of New Harmony Station and watched history being made. The station itself was a marvel of cooperation. Built in the space between Earth and Veltara Prime, it combined human engineering with Valanian architecture and Zephyrian crystal technology. The result was a structure that looked like a crystal flower blooming in space, beautiful and functional at the same time. But the real marvel was happening inside the hall. Representatives from 47 species sat at a circular table, each one signing the same document. The Terran Protection Pact, they called it, a promise that no species would ever again face extinction alone. "The Altarian Trade Federation formally joins the pact," announced Captain Zeltara, whose people had been saved from pirates by the human Valanian fleet just 2 months earlier. "The Centauri Colonial Alliance joins the pact," declared Governor Shantol, whose border worlds had been protected from Korthak revenge attacks. "The Zephyrian Crystal Gardens joined the pact," whispered Elder Crystalline Song, whose people had been saved from the Void Cult in the great battle that had changed everything. O Taimin smiled as he watched. The Battle of Zephyr had indeed been the largest space battle in galactic history. 500 Void Cult ships against a combined fleet of humans, Valanians, and their new allies. The battle had lasted 6 hours, and ended with the complete destruction of the Void Cult's military power. But more importantly, it had shown the galaxy what the Alliance could do. "The reformed Korthak clans join the pact," announced Sub-Commander Veltak, whose people had turned against their own empire after witnessing human mercy toward prisoners of war. That had been the biggest surprise. After the Battle of Zephyr, groups of Korthak had approached the Alliance asking to join. They had seen their former enemies show honor and mercy, and they wanted to be part of something better than conquest and destruction. Fleet Admiral Kim So-Ra, newly promoted to Supreme Allied Commander, stepped forward to address the assembly. "Today marks the end of the old galactic order," she said. "For too long the strong have preyed upon the weak. Species have faced extinction while others watched and did nothing. That age is over." She gestured toward the signed documents. "The Terran Protection Pact is simple. Those who threaten innocent people will face our combined strength. Those who seek to live in peace will have our protection. No exceptions, no politics, no excuses." Chancellor Velthara, now serving as the Pact's first non-human Supreme Counselor, stood beside Admiral Kim. "When my people called for help, only one species answered. Earth's war fleets came when we had given up all hope. Today, 47 species promise that no one will ever have to face that desperation alone again." O Taimin looked around the Great Hall. The representatives came from every corner of the galaxy. Traders, farmers, scientists, explorers. All united by the simple idea that innocent people deserved protection. "Ambassador," called his aide, Secretary Kim Na-eun. "Priority message from Deep Space Patrol. Captain Shin aboard the Gangnam Steel is reporting a distress signal from the Outer Rim." O Tae-min activated his communication device. Captain Shin Dong-hyun's face appeared on the small screen. "Ambassador, we're receiving an emergency transmission from the Kepler system. Unknown aggressors are attacking mining colonies. The local species has no military capability. What's the nature of the threat?" "Unknown at this time. But sir, they're asking for help. They specifically mentioned the Terran Protection Pact." O Tae-min felt pride swell in his chest. Word of the pact was spreading faster than they had expected. Species across the galaxy were learning that they no longer had to face threats alone. "Tell Fleet Admiral Kim," he said, "and prepare the 5th Combined Fleet for deployment." The 5th Combined Fleet was one of the new joint forces created after the Battle of Zephyr. Human warships, Valanian medical vessels, Zephyrian sensor platforms, Altarian supply ships, and even reformed Korthak heavy cruisers. Over 300 ships from a dozen species, all working together. An hour later, Fleet Admiral Kim stood on the bridge of the new flagship Unity's Edge. The ship was a perfect symbol of the Alliance, built by human engineers, equipped with Valanian healing bays, powered by Zephyrian crystals, and armed with weapons designed by reformed Korthak, who now use their warrior skills to protect instead of destroy. "Fleet status?" she asked her mixed-species crew. 312 ships reporting ready, answered her tactical officer, Lieutenant Commander Severin. The former Korthak warrior had proven to be an excellent addition to the fleet. His understanding of aggressive species made him invaluable in planning defensive strategies. "All medical and supply vessels report ready for humanitarian operations," added communications specialist Corporal Bei Sujin, now serving as the fleet's coordination officer. Kim looked at the tactical display showing the combined fleet. Human destroyers flew alongside Valanian hospital ships. Zephyrian scout vessels shared formation with reformed Korthak battlecruisers. It was the most powerful and diverse fleet ever assembled. "Open a general channel to the attacking forces at Kepler," she ordered. The main screen showed the bridge of an unknown alien vessel. The captain was a reptilian species she didn't recognize, with scales and multiple eyes that glowed with malicious intelligence. "Unknown vessels," the alien hissed. "You have entered Saurian Empire space. Withdraw immediately or be destroyed." "This is Fleet Admiral Kim So-Ra of the Terran Protection Pact," she replied calmly. "You are attacking civilians under our protection. You have 1 minute to cease all hostile actions and leave this system." The reptilian captain's multiple eyes all focused on her. "Terran Protection Pact? Never heard of it. These mining colonies belong to the Saurian Empire now, as will your ships when we capture them." 59 seconds, Kim said, looking at her watch. "You face the might of 200 Saurian warships. We fear nothing in the galaxy." Kim almost smiled. She had heard similar boasts from the Korthak. They never seemed to learn. "Time's up," she said quietly. The Battle of Kepler was shorter than the Battle of Zephyr. The Saurian Empire had never faced a combined fleet before. They expected to fight, one species at a time, using superior numbers to overwhelm isolated enemies. Instead, they found themselves fighting the combined military might of 12 allied species, coordinated by human tactical doctrine and supported by Valanian medical technology. The battle lasted exactly 23 minutes. When it was over, Admiral Kim opened a channel to the surviving Saurian ships. "This is Admiral Kim. The Kepler system is under the protection of the Terran Protection Pact. You will leave now and spread word to your empire. Innocent people are no longer defenseless. They have allies now, many allies." The reptilian captain, his ship burning and his fleet destroyed, nodded shakily. "What? What is this pact?" "It's the future," Kim replied. "A future where species like yours no longer prey on the innocent. You can be part of that future, or you can be left behind by it. Choose wisely." The surviving Saurian ships jumped to hyperspace as quickly as they could. "Fleet status?" Kim asked. "All ships reporting minimal damage," Severin announced. "0 casualties. The enemy managed to damage 2 supply ships, but Valanian repair teams have already fixed them." Kim looked around her bridge at the mixed crew. Humans, Valanians, reformed Korthak, and now even some Saurians who had asked to join during the battle. The alliance was growing faster than anyone had expected. "Set course for New Harmony Station," she ordered, "and send a message to Ambassador O. Tell him we have room for one more signature on the pact." As the fleet headed home, Captain Li Wu Jin, now serving as Admiral Kim's strategic advisor, stood beside her command chair. "Another successful mission," he said. "Another species saved," Kim replied. "But Li, I think we're going to be very busy in the coming years." "Why's that?" Kim gestured toward the communication log showing dozens of new distress calls from across the galaxy. Word of the Terran Protection Pact was spreading, and species that had lived in fear for centuries were finally calling for help, because the galaxy is learning that they don't have to be victims anymore. They're learning that someone will answer when they call. She looked out at the stars, where human ships flew alongside alien allies toward their next mission. They pleaded for salvation, and Earth's war fleets arrived. But now we're not coming alone. Now we bring hope, healing, and the promise that innocent people will never face extinction without allies. Captain Lee smiled. The age of predators is ending. Yes, Admiral Kim agreed. The age of protectors has begun. In the distance, New Harmony Station grew larger, its crystal surfaces reflecting the light of both human and alien ships. The galaxy had changed forever. Where once there had been isolated species facing threats alone, now there was an alliance dedicated to protecting the innocent. The Terran Protection Pact had begun with one desperate plea for help. Now it was becoming the foundation for a new kind of galactic civilization, one based not on conquest, but on protection. Not on fear, but on hope. And at the center of it, all were the humans who had heard a cry for help and answered with overwhelming force, tempered by unwavering mercy. They had come as warriors, but they stayed as guardians. The galaxy would never be the same.